What's up, guys? Welcome back to AGB Cars. I'm Aaron, and we have another video here today which we will be talking about the Bahrain Grand Prix of 2015. So, diving straight in to the action, and Lewis Hamilton won the Bahrain Grand Prix, which is his second time in a row after, of course, winning last year in 2014. And Hamilton drove pretty much a flawless race. After starting from pole position, he got a perfect start and was not bothered by anyone throughout the whole race. He led throughout all the stops, and yeah, no one could really challenge him for pace. Kimi Raikkonen, though, put up a strong fight in second position. He was 3.3 seconds off Hamilton, but in reality he was further behind because Lewis Hamilton had a brake issue towards the end of the race, as in fact did Mercedes teammate Nico Rosberg, which really hampered his pace. And had the race been any longer, perhaps even one or two laps, it could have given Raikkonen an opportunity to overtake, as Hamilton would have been defenceless without any brakes. But Raikkonen, strong drive. He started from P4 and he passed Rosberg into the first corner for third place, and then he was kind of up and down, and he really in the second stint when he went on to the medium tires, he had an incredible stint, really strong. And that kind of set him up for a strong end when he got the soft tires on and was able to challenge, and he was able to pass Nico Rosberg and then also challenge Lewis Hamilton, but wasn't able to quite make it in time. Nico Rosberg then did finish in third position on the podium, has been on the podium every race of the season so far, along with teammate Lewis Hamilton. 6 seconds behind his teammate, and well, not really a strong race. You can't really say he performed well, because throughout the race he was slower than teammate Lewis Hamilton in the same car. He was under a lot of pressure from Sebastian Vettel and Kimi Raikkonen throughout the race, and he really just wasn't able to exploit the performance that we know the Mercedes car has. And then in the end, he just couldn't keep Kimi Raikkonen behind and ended up going off track. He ran wide at turn 1, which handed Raikkonen second place, but Kimi Raikkonen would have got past anyway. Then Valtteri Bottas finished in fourth position for the Williams team. Quite a strong performance, although the Williams is miles behind the Ferrari and Mercedes in pace. It is safely third quickest though, but still a long way off the two leading teams. Valtteri Bottas started fifth. He had quite a quiet race. Just towards the end, then when Sebastian Vettel dropped in behind him, and just wasn't able to get past really. The Williams showed some great traction off the corners, which made it really hard for Vettel to mount an attack, which he wasn't able to in the end. He ended up finishing fifth, which he could have got a lot better result. He probably would have finished second if he had not of damaged his front wing. This was early on in the race, as Vettel was kind of playing a leapfrog game with Nico Rosberg in the pit stops, because Vettel stopped before Rosberg, was able to undercut him and get ahead, but then the pace of the Mercedes was just too great, and Rosberg would always pass Vettel then in the stint. But trying to keep Rosberg behind, Vettel ran wide at the last corner onto the gravel on the runoff area, which damaged his front wing and then forced him to make a pit stop, which was indeed very slow. I know it is a time-consuming process to remove a front wing and then put another one back on, but this was especially slow. It seemed they had a little issue with taking off the damaged front wing, so that really lost some time. And then he came out behind Valtteri Bottas and wasn't able to get past, which I found very surprising. I would have thought the Ferrari would have been able to pass the Williams quite easily, but it turned out the Williams was strong enough in a straight line to keep Vettel behind. Vettel, though, all week didn't really look as strong as he has throughout the opening few rounds. It just seemed like he wasn't quite happy with the balance of the car. But fifth place is not a bad result, and he's still able to take away 10 points from the weekend. Best of the rest then is Ricciardo in the Red Bull, who finished 6th, but only just finished the race as his engine exploded quite catastrophically towards the end of the Grand Prix, just as he was crossing the finish line. So he did finish and was classified 60 seconds behind Lewis Hamilton, almost lapped in fact. But the Red Bull started to show a small bit of pace, but reliability is certainly still a very big issue with the Renault power unit. Romain Grosjean then in 7th position in the Lotus. He was very almost lapped, 84 seconds behind Hamilton, the last of the drivers on the leading lap. Quite a quiet race from Grosjean, not really anything important happened. He just had a quiet race really, and still 7th position is quite a good result for Lotus. That is really the best they can do. They're quite evenly matched with the likes of Red Bull and Toro Rosso, so quite a good result from Romain Grosjean in 7th place, ahead of Sergio Perez in 8th, the Force India. Strong pace from the Force India, an improvement of what we've seen over the opening rounds, and an encouraging sign for the team as they move forward with the championship. Kvyat then was in 9th place in the other Red Bull. He was able to finish the race as well. 9th place, only 2 points, but still, bearing in mind the quite awful qualifying he had when he only got one quick lap after a lot of reliability issues and a spin as well, it cannot be taken too badly, those 2 points that he got. Felipe Massa down in 10th, rounding out the point scorers. He had quite an interesting race. On the starting grid, I actually saw that there were Williams mechanics on the grid, like at Massa's car, as the 1 minute light was on the starting lights thing, and that is the time where everyone has to be off the grid. So I kind of had it in my head that something was wrong and that they were probably going to get a drive-through penalty because your mechanics have to be off the grid by a certain time. But it turns out that the car wasn't even started on the grid, as there were electrical issues. So as everyone else went around on their formation lap, the Williams was pushed back into the pit lane where it was started, and then Massa started from the pit lane. Made pretty good ground, was hampered then because of a collision with Maldonado. As Massa was passing Maldonado somehow managed to crash into Massa. That's very strange because Maldonado is a very safe and clean driver. So that damaged the floor of Massa's car and therefore really slowed his pace, and he wasn't able to improve much more. Without that, he probably would have been in the top 6 really, because the Williams is faster than Red Bull, Lotus, Force India that were ahead of him. So still not too bad a weekend. He did get a point out of it and is still ahead of his teammate Bottas in the Drivers' Championship. Alonso then with a very, very strong race in 11th position in the McLaren. The McLaren starting to show that it has some race pace in 11th. He started, I believe it was around 14th, I think. But then, so a really strong race, finishing ahead of both Saubers, Force India, a Lotus. So McLaren, encouraging signs for them. And Alonso said that this is the last race before they are in the points. So he says that when we get to Barcelona in 3 weeks' time, that McLaren will be challenging for points-paying positions. Felipe Nasr, the other Brazilian, is finished in 12th position in the Sauber. Sauber are really an on-off team, as they have been actually over the last while, over the last few years. I mean, they had a fantastic round in Australia, and then they've sort of struggled to match that pace that they've shown. And 12th and 14th position is certainly not as strong as they were looking prior to kind of the Chinese Grand Prix. So still a lot of work has to be done at Sauber. Quite a quiet race though for both Nasr and Ericsson. Nico Hülkenberg and the other Force India was between the two Saubers in 13th. Again, quiet enough race for Hülkenberg, not much drama to speak of. Maldonado then was down in 15th after the small bit of collision with Felipe Massa. He also had quite an atrociously slow pit stop where the wheel just would not go on the rim. And they spent a lot of time in the pits. And they even had to get the brake coolers, to sort of the leaf blower like devices that cool the brakes out, because he was sitting still in the pit box for so long. And then we go down to the two Manor Marussia cars in 16th and 17th. Will Stevens finishing ahead of his teammate Roberto Merri. Both cars finishing the race again, which is encouraging. They should have quite a big development though when we get to the Spanish Grand Prix, as they have been saying that the Spanish Grand Prix is kind of the stepping stone into the future, where they hope to have a more competitive car, also have a new livery hopefully, because they haven't really tried to get sponsors yet, as they just want to make sure they have a half decent car first. So once they know they have a car that will finish races, they are going to start to look for title sponsors and get a new colour scheme on the car. Neither Toro Rosso finished the race. They were down in 18th and 19th. Both Max Verstappen and Carlos Sainz were unable to finish after they both had problems with the car. This is again also, of course, because of the Renault power unit, which is still not up to scratch of the either Mercedes or Ferrari. And then finally, Jenson Button in his McLaren was not able to start the Grand Prix due to electrical issues that he suffered prior to the start of the Grand Prix. So that is the order and everything that happened. Fastest lap also went to Kimi Raikkonen in the Ferrari, which is something else good for the Ferrari team. Then we look at the driver standing. So Lewis Hamilton still leading, pretty healthy lead over teammate Nico Rosberg, who was able to pass Vettel just by 1 point. So Vettel still very much in the hunt and in touch with Nico Rosberg anyway. Kimi Raikkonen is up to 4th position, quite a long way off Sebastian Vettel. Then Felipe Massa and Valtteri Bottas in 5th and 6th. Massa with 31, Bottas with 30. Ricciardo then after them with another big step down in points. Nasr, Grosjean and Hülkenberg all in the top 10. Max Verstappen and Carlos Sainz both have 6 each. And then Perez and Ericsson both have 5 each. And then Kvyat in the Red Bull has 4. And then those who do not have any points still, Alonso, Button, Merri, Stevens and Pastor Maldonado. In the Constructors' Championship, Mercedes are romping away in the lead with 159 points. Ferrari in 2nd place with 107, Williams in 3rd with 61, then Red Bull, Sauber, Lotus, Toro Rosso, Force India, all in the mix in the midfield, and then of course McLaren and Marussia still don't have any points. So that's the analysis for the Bahrain Grand Prix of 2015. The race was quite good. Wasn't as exciting as previous races, but certainly still had a glimpse of what we saw in 2014, which was a brilliant race. So overall, I'd give it a 7 out of 10 rating, and driver of the day would have to be Kimi Räikkönen for his superb performance on both medium and soft tyres, and the way he almost won the Grand Prix. So thank you very much for listening. Until next time, it's goodbye.